Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. So, my buddy Coach Steve cannot use a poly. It just hurts. We're out with him today, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. Stay tuned. All right, so I gave Coach Steve a new MP already of the speed, and unfortunately he didn't bring it. He uses a multi, full bed, playing, teaching, NRG to be exact, 16 gauge. I strung this one with a poly, in which we'll keep confidential, and we're going to talk about why he can't use a poly, but does a poly give him the advantage? Plus, I also wanted him to try this amazing team with the poly unpoly, which is head velocity. All right, let's get on the court with Coach Steve. All right, Coach Stevie.
Yes, sir.
You and I have known each other for going on about 17 years now, and when we first met, you were on a poly hybrid, and then you've transitioned out of that into a straight multi. Now, let's rewind back to your early career. When you were playing, what kind of string did you use?
Well, as a junior, I started with just a basic nylon. I think it was called Blue Star. Going back, and then as I got going further into my career, into college, and then to try to play some pro tennis, I switched to gut because it gave me a little more pop, and I had some feel, and so even though it didn't last quite as long, I was able to find gut at a reasonable price, and so I just did that.
So full bed and natural gut.
Full bed.
Okay.
Yeah. And back then, I mean, I'm old, so they didn't have poly then until I think like 1997 when Gustavo Kuerten came out with it, started playing with it, and that was kind of revolutionary in our sport. And I sort of was at the end of playing at that point, so I wasn't really in that zone.
I see. Now, when was your first taste of gut, and how was it used?
My first taste? I think I was in college and I had been playing with synthetic, whatever Fresno State could give us. And one of the guys on my team from Germany came back from the summer and he had gut in and he had an extra set. And he said, here, you could try this. And I was like, the difference for me was a lot. I was able to get the ball deeper. At the beginning, I had a few out, but then I was able to measure it. And then I could do some more things with my feel, and I had a little more pop on my kick, a little more hop, I should say. And that's when I started using it. And then I used it all the way through until I was done playing, really.
That was the natural gut? Okay. Now, what about the poly?
So then when I was playing open tennis, and that was kind of during the Kuerten time, and some of the guys were switching to poly, the stringing manufacturers were coming around going, you should try these new strings. And so I said, all right, let's try it. And, right away, even more spin and more, shape on my ball, which I don't have a lot of shape. I'm a pretty flat player. So it was super fun to play with it. So I started with that. And then, Federer comes along and starts doing a blend. And so I said, okay, I'll try the blend. And so I was going blend for a while. But then I ended up with arm issues.
How far along before you saw the benefit of the string? Yeah. How far along before you saw the problems with the strings?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is I had teaching rackets and playing rackets, right? So the teaching rackets at the time were just, good multis, softer string. And then I had my hybrids. And so I didn't recognize it right away. Until I broke my teaching, and I went to my hybrids and I started feeding balls all day. And then my arm right away started to hurt after a couple of days. It was sore the first day, and then it got a little worse, and then it was actual pain. And I thought, well, it must be the racket, it must be the way I'm feeding, it must be my shoulder position. I never thought about the string stiffening and causing problems with my joints. I just thought it was me or something with the racket, not really the string. So that's when I did a deep dive into the string.
Now, where would it hurt?
Yeah, so I've had it twice in both places. I've had it inside here,
Okay.
which was super painful for anything above my shoulder. And then I've had it here.
You've had both ways.
Both places in my career. And to be honest, the first one I had was here from feeding, and I thought, well, maybe I did something weird when I was showing a serve or pronating. So I just kind of blew that off, and it got better after a while. And then this one started, and I'm like, okay, there's something going on here now, because this one I didn't do anything to. So I never had any wrist issues, but people have. So,
are you a dampener user?
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you see a doc about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I went to see the doc, and they said it was obviously tendonitis. And it was, either golfers on the inside or tennis on the outside. And, they require, all the things to ice and to Advil and to rest and to strengthen and to PT and all that stuff. But I did a lot of therapy on it to get it to go away. It took a while, but it did go away. I did Egoscue with David Smith, which was huge for me. And then I had someone who went in and worked on my arm, which was terrific. And then I saw Dr. Diao, and he was great.
Now, let's say this is a full bed of poly.
Yeah.
That's a full bed of multi, NRG to be exact.
Yeah.
What do you feel on the court, like pain-wise or tendonitis or whatever-wise, when you're on the court?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I start using that right away, in like the first 15 minutes, I'll start to feel my arm. And it's like a radiating pain through the arm.
That fast?
Yeah, it's fast. Now, I don't know why. My arm is super sensitive to polyester string now. And so I'll start off and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And I'm like, I'll start shaking my arm out a little bit. And then to be honest, I don't know if it'll just kind of stay that way for a long time or it'll progress, get worse. But I'm so afraid of getting tennis elbow again because it's super painful that I just switch right out. I don't take that chance anymore. It's not worth it for me anyway.
I got you.
Yeah.
So it's been how many years since you've gone from like a poly blend into a straight multi now?
Yeah, it's been like, I don't know, close to 8 to 10 years, I think.
Yeah, I feel like it's about that. It's been that long.
It's about that long. It's kind of like we started with the Technofiber NRG or the X1 Biophase. And then we've done some full gut too. Whenever I start to panic, thought my arm will go really soft. But yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. I actually have a surprise for you today. I wanted you to try this particular racket that I think is pretty special in the speed line.
Nice.
And I'm going to grab it. You haven't tried this one yet because he's requested the MP, and we actually left it at the club. So, but I brought the poly one, which I'm not going to ask him to hit with. But I would like him to hit with this particular racket, and
it looks really nice.
Yeah, and it's the special make. I've already done a review on it. It's great. It's the Speed Team. Yeah. So, and I'm not going to tell you what kind of string I put on it, but maybe you can tell if it's a poly or a multi.
Okay.
Just because it's blue, it kind of camouflages things a little bit.
It does. Yep. Yeah. All right.
All right, so I have to say a couple of things. When we got the poly in your hand, your ball came faster with a lot more shape, and it was penetrating through the court. So there's definitely an advantage of you hitting with a poly.
No doubt. I mean, there's no doubt that the polyester string is a huge advantage to playing tennis. It gives you so much more spin, more shape, you get better margins. And if you're physically able to handle it and your arm is fine with it, it's an exceptional string. You just have to monitor it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it doesn't go dead and you play with it too long. But fresh polyester string, I mean, there's nothing better. And I think that's why the pros are using it.
Totally.
Right? I mean, they're obviously going to gravitate towards the best performing string, and that's definitely it.
How many multis do you think are on the pro circuit now?
I don't think any. Maybe some small future somewhere where no one has any money, but definitely not. No,
Right.
There's no multi out there. A little bit of gut probably left out there with some hybrids, and then the rest is all polyester.
Yep. So if you want to be a pro, your arm better be able to take the poly, okay, guys? Yep. Now, what did you think of that?
Oh man, I was super surprised because it came off the string right away like a polyester string. It had snap and shape, but it didn't have that same stiffness feeling in my arm, and my arm is very sensitive. And so I was like, is this a poly? Is it not? And I kept hitting with it, and my arm didn't feel anything. And so, I was like, this is not a poly, even though it was reacting like one. Which I thought was super cool. And then I asked you about it.
When did you know that it wasn't a poly?
Just, I didn't know by the way my ball was going. I could feel it wasn't quite as stiff.
Okay.
And my arm didn't feel anything. And normally, even like hitting with that, it didn't hurt, but my arm starts to feel a little tired up in here. I'm like, oh, if I hit with that for like an hour and a half, my arm's going to fall off. I could play with this all day, I think.
And 105 is the head size.
Yep.
10 ounces strung.
Strung. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, maneuverable, balanced, very, very, very easy to wield. Good power, a bit too much for me if I was playing all out, but perfect for the, 3-5-4-0 player who wants a little bit of power in their swing. This is going to add that, but still plenty of control. Like I was still able to control the ball and not spray paint the fence.
Right.
Yeah, so I like it.
So I call this the poly unpoly.
Poly unpoly.
Poly unpoly.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a poly. It's got kind of the firmness without the effects of the harshness of the poly.
Which is super interesting. I've tried a zillion strings and I've never had one like this.
And that is actually a head string. It's head velocity.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yay.
Head on head.
I'll be giving them a call.
All right. Eric,
get on the phone.
let's get on the number one string and the number one multi in the world. Velocity for Coach Steve here.
Awesome.
All right, Coach Steve, thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Eric.
answering our questions, telling us a little bit about your history with, poly and how it's not good for yourself and possibly other people out there.
Yep.
And then, actually hitting with a poly and letting me see how actually well you hit with it.
Yeah. I mean, I hit well with it, and that's the lure, right? I mean, you play well with it, but you have to balance the arm health to how well you're playing and how important that playing is to you. Yeah. Obviously, the guys and girls on TV are monitoring how to the minute their polyester string, and it's their livelihood, so they're playing with it.
Right.
For me, my livelihood is teaching, and so I'm feeding a lot of balls, so I need arm health is more important than how great I can hit a shot once in a while.
Right, exactly. Staying on the court is more important, guys.
That's right. So you got to balance that out. Some people, there's no effect, though. Their arm has no problem with it, and I say go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Coach Steve, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Hanlon, great match as ever. Oh man, thank you so much. Next week, same time, same bat channel. All right, my buddy Hanlon and I have been playing for over 20 years with each other. I'm so glad that I have found my tennis buddy. And we just happened to kind of started playing, right? So the number one problem with tennis is if you don't have a buddy like Hanlon, you don't play tennis, because I wouldn't have been able to play for 20 years without him. And that's when Play Your Court comes in. There's over 27,000 people registered that you can play with. Just check out playyourcourt.com/tennis spin. There's a tennis buddy waiting for you.